New and exciting things are coming to the bird garden. Zoe and I are going to show you all the birds that come throughout the year, whether they're foraging here, bathing here, having babies, or just passing through, which means we're going to be doing bird watching, birding from the bird garden. Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I'm going to do something very special for the new year that's coming up. 2025, wow, how time flies. You know how we built a beautiful bird garden. We didn't even plan on it. And I'm going to make it my way. So I'm not going to be doing anything fancy, but this is where I sit every morning, or at least I try to, with a cup of coffee and looking out this one room that's got the doors looking to my bird garden. Watching to see birds coming in, new birds coming in, or whatever. It's such a soothing, stress relieving haven. About 8-10 years ago, there were no birds here, nothing like this. And now we have thousands of birds here. And not only do we have all these birds here, but they get along. There's enough food, water, and shelter for all of them. And where are you going to find this many species all eating in harmony together? And we built it up really with very little cost. It started off as a vegetable garden. And then I put some fountains in here. Early on, I was buying them at thrift stores. And then I started to make my own fountains for the birds. And we just love to come out and sit here. But like I was saying, it was a vegetable garden that progressed into flowers. Some of you have been with me now for the past, 6-7 years, and you can remember me saying, I will not put anything other than food, that will grow here. In other words, it had to be edible. After all, this was a vegetable garden. But then I changed. That's not right. We need pollinators. We need birds. The birds come in and eat the insects. The pollinators are pollinating my plants and giving me my vegetables on some of them. And I actually started to enjoy seeing the different birds come in. Zoe as well has a job. Besides beating up her toys, she sits there and she watches for squirrels, but we'll get more into that in a minute. Because I want to talk about the flowers, the prices, and how much money I'm not putting out. But as I was saying, I've got some plants out there, like one is a kufia, which is called Hummingbirds Lunch. Now, kufia's got a lot of different types of flowers in that family. But the Hummingbirds Lunch, well, that's the one I bought. It was like $12, $15, and I propagated off of that probably 50 plants. I mean, I could propagate as many as I want, and this is how my garden is building. We go to Home Depot and Lowe's. We find that they have something on clearance, we buy that. I've even got turmeric growing out there, which you could see on the bottom. And then, of course, we've got the dragon fruit. Guess what? This was a surprise, and this is kind of what triggered the new series, if you want to call it, that will be coming out. Birds. Birds in the garden. Gary was going around pulling off the dragon fruit that was eaten, thinking it was rats. Turned out it wasn't rats. It was the birds that we don't see, ones that come in that are rare, are coming in for things that are growing in my garden, whether we can eat them. Well, turns out they can eat them. And they eat different ways, and that's what I want to get into. I had house finches eating dragon fruit, but they eat the fruit and the seed, where that little bird, well, we'll talk more about him, is an insect eater that also eats fruit, and he didn't want the seeds. All he wanted was the nectar out of it, the sweetness out of it. So you can ask me questions on what you would like to know, because I want you to build a little nature sanctuary. You could do it out your window in a planter, and you could have the same things, because very little brings in birds. They appreciate whatever they can find, even pollinators. It brings them in. And I'm going to build this. Yes, I will buy flowers when I see it, but I also buy flowers that are more for cover, like geraniums, because they're cheap and you can propagate those. So what I was saying is I'm going to build this in a fashion that's not going to cost me a fortune, but I can build it where they have cover, where they have food, and they have water, which is important to have water, because that brings them in, whether it's for drinking or bathing. You know that we had spice finches here a few years ago, and we had like 2 or 3 of them. Now we have over 100. Why? Different reasons. They've nested and had multiple babies. They also found this a security place for them, so they're hanging out closer. So other groups of spice finches found it. It's just different reasons what brought them in. And you know I did a video on the 50 small species of birds we have in our garden that hang around. Well, we've got now, I believe, over 60. And you can go back and look at that. Maybe I'll go and narrate it one day because some of you have requested that, like, what is that? But I can tell you what comes in at what time, because not all these birds come in at the same time. Some of them come in for the winter. Some of them come in for the spring, for nesting, and some stay for the summer when they're looking for food. They all come in at different times, so we don't have 60 species here. I also talk about how we protected them, and they know it. Cross-beaming in stakes across the top of the yard, or putting in maybe a big cage where they could go in and out. This protects them. It looks odd, but the point is, if a hawk went by, they can't get him. Hawks have to swoop. So by the time they hit that cage or get too close, they're long gone. They got bushes here, all kinds of bushes that are growing. Because I've looked back at some of the photos, and it's amazing what has changed in a matter of a year. Now, what Zoe's doing is she knows now not to touch the birds or bother the birds. So she sits there every morning, and well, other times too, and she chases the squirrels out, which is a good thing. Because the squirrels come in and they knock things around, and they don't like her here. So when she runs out there and barks at them, they take off. I don't mind having the squirrel come in. There's certain feeders that are set up for the squirrels to grab some food. But, you know, let her do something. She feels very important because she barks and is all excited when she chases one off. So if you've got questions on how we set this up, you know I've done multiple videos on setting up the feeders and how to keep critters and doves and pigeons out of certain feeders so the small birds can eat in comfort. We can go over all that. We can go over the individual species that come in. The surprise. I mean, I have set up bird watching in a very small yard, and this is a small yard. Gary caught a bird watcher once out front. He didn't know what was going on. He was hanging around the property, and Gary goes out there. He's in khaki clothes, and he's got binoculars and cameras, and Gary went out there and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Did you know your yard's got tanagers in there? There's no tanagers around here." And Gary goes, "Oh, yeah, that's all I'm doing." And then Gary left, and I haven't seen him since. We have set up a bird sanctuary. We have set up for butterflies. I've got milkweed in here that brings in monarchs. I had a neighbor come and tell me, "It's so beautiful out here. I love living here. It's a shame we have no monarchs." And I'm thinking, no monarchs as he's talking to me and they're flying all over around my head? They don't come to his yard because they don't have any food. And that's the main thing. Let's set up our yards, a balcony, a deck, a little tiny spot, and bring in what we want, because we can design it to bring in what we want. And that's what we're going to talk about. I hope you enjoy this. I'll try to get this out as often as I can, but this is my haven. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. And set something up for the birds. Bye for now.